Dang, this thing's looking good. Boy, it is bright. All right, we are at a junkyard. Here's a Cruise 1.8 2013, and looks like somebody's done part of the work for me. Got my core turned in. Let's go ahead and grab this sucker. So it won't be too bad to get the cylinder head off. Coolant's already out. We just need to remove this thermostat, the intake over here, and all the little odds and ends. If anybody can tell me what this modification is, let me know down in the comments, because that's interesting. We got the engine block all stripped down, and the cylinders look actually pretty good. Check this out. Might be hard to tell, but they're pretty nice. No, I've kind of ran my fingers down it. Nice and straight. Looks pretty damn good. Now we just need to knock the glaze off these cylinder walls, in which we got this handy dandy tool here. Why, sweetheart? Shut! So here it is, a stone hone from AutoZone's loaner tool program. So we'll take this, a little WD-40, and we'll just knock the glaze off the cylinder walls, and we should be good. All right, let's see what kind of trouble we can get into here. You know what I mean. A little light lube, WD. And let's go to town on this thing. What are we hitting? Ah, we're just going too low. Getting there. We'll keep on trucking. Put a little more pressure on this thing. Let's check our progress. Ooh, it's getting that aluminum kind of stuck to the cylinder wall here. Yeah, we're getting there. We're almost completely deglazed. I think we'll still have to, golly, these bores are small. We got some more to do. Get in your home. Oh, come on. Almost there. Whew. Pretty dang close, if you ask me. Gonna use some cheap transmission fluid to help clean these cylinder walls up a little bit. I think we're almost finished with this one. Do you have a little something there, but we almost got it. A little bit more. All right, I think that'll about get that one. Let's go ahead and do the rest of them, and then I'll show you the results. Okay, this is what we look like before. Nice and shiny, glazed over, and here we are with the glaze all knocked off, nice and honed, and she's looking pretty dang good, if I do say so myself. You see the difference? All right, let's get after these other two. One of the great things about these stone style hones is the fact that they are nice and level with the ball hone style. It's kind of filling some of the voids. This will make sure that it's nice and square. If you have any low spots, it'll definitely show up, versus a ball hone. We'll just hone it and you won't really be able to see any type of waves or distortion, anything like that going on. And these keep everything nice and true. Come on. You're a machine, Matt. You're a honing machine. You're getting that 45-degree angle. There we go. She's nice and honed. All right, we got this thing nice and honed. Let me show you how the stock bearings look. We're just gonna keep those. We're gonna keep this low buck as possible. All the bearings look absolutely fantastic. We're gonna roll with them. We're gonna do just a minimal amount of cleanup. I'll degrease it, power wash it, just get the dirt and crap off. Not even gonna paint it. I mean, it's already got paint on it from the factory. We'll seal her up. The crankshaft journals look great. Nothing really to be concerned about. We'll just clean this up as well since there was coolant in the oil. So we'll just chase these oil passages, toss her in, new seals, good to go.
Both of my nails are broken.
Your nails are broken?
Yeah,
What, your toenails?
No.
Or your fingernails?
So, my fingernails.
I'm sure the oil pump is just fine, but we'll toss a new gasket on it because these things tend to just kind of deteriorate. Whatever. They just tend to deteriorate. Golly, I can't say it right now. You get what I'm saying. They fall apart. And you can see part of the gasket just stuck here. We'll clean that up. New gaskets. We'll just rock and roll with it. And on this thing, I don't think I'm even going to fuss with. I might replace that. I don't know. We'll see. I guess I might as well while it's out. Practically doing a full rebuild. Got a timing belt kit with a water pump. I don't know what the heck they did with this thing that the pulley's not on there. We'll replace that. Not a big deal. As far as the cylinder head goes, man, this thing is, the head itself is good. The seats look fine. I'm not gonna screw with them a whole lot aside from just get carbon buildup off of the seats here, or the face of, whatever you wanna call this. They look fine. Just a little bit of carbon buildup. Looks gross. All of the intake valves were hung up and you could just see the discoloration that this thing ran hot and just bent all the valves, locked it up. The camshafts, some of the spots have some rust. Still trying to figure out what the heck I'm gonna do about that. I think we might just scrub it. I've got all of my buckets from it. The buckets look fine. I think we might just scrub some of this rust off and just send it. And we'll get this nasty looking thing looking like this here. A little bit of Chem Dip, brush it on, let it sit for a little bit, wash it off. Comes out looking pristine, just like this. One of the other things I am waiting on, and this is just a real pain in the butt kind of thing. There's this oil check valve, which allows oil to go to the head. It's just a little spring and a ball, and this little plastic piece has deteriorated. Here we go again. I had to spend 30 bucks on that stupid little thing. So we'll have to extract that, put the new one in, because this one is just, it's gone. It's just broke up. I didn't want to have to pull the crankshaft, but these are torque to yield bolts. I'm going to use stock torque to yield bolts this time around. Just see how they hold up, see what they can take. So I got to order some of those. So for the most part, I've spent $300, another 25 bucks for the guy to deliver it on the engine. Spent 90 bucks on the cylinder head, and a couple hundred. The timing belt kit was like 80 something. Plus tax and shipping and all that crap. And the gaskets, I mean, they're pretty inexpensive. So, I mean, about $200 on all the gaskets and everything. We're gonna use the stock rings, take our max speeding rods, or if the other rods come in before I can pull the pistons and swap out the rods, we'll use those. I'm not gonna fuss with the head, no decking or the block. We're just gonna clean it up, gaskets, rods, ring gap, springs, retainers, and just go for it. No porting and polishing and all that crap, and we'll see how it does. Now that we have our honing done, what I did is I took a razor and I cleaned up all the mating surfaces, used just a kitchen Scotch Brite to kind of clean up some of the gasket material. Same thing for the head side. It's about as clean as we're gonna get it. We'll toss some degreaser on it and we're gonna power wash this bad boy and clean it up. We just got some cheap engine degreaser from AutoZone. Says to let it sit for 10 to 15 minutes, so let's hose her down. Same difference with the cylinder head. Just wanna get all the oil and crap off of it. All right, we'll let the block and the cylinder head sit for a good 10 to 15 minutes, and then we'll come and power wash this. This thing has soaked long enough. Let's go ahead and power wash the crap out of it. All right, let's do our soapy water thing and get this thing as clean as we can. And then we'll just hit it with some WD-40. Well, it is another day, and what I'm currently working on is enlarging the holes in the blocks. That way we can use our larger ARP studs to really fasten that head down. I was a little timid about doing this at first. However, I went ahead and I did one of the holes. It came out nice and square, threads in quite nicely. Here's the stock size right there, and here is the enlarged hole here. As you can see, it came out pretty nice. So all it really took was a little bit of research to figure out what size drill bit I needed. In this case, we have a 9.5 millimeter, so we can go to a 11 millimeter stud, 11 by 1.5. And I just got these bad boys off of Amazon. I'll leave a link down in the description. And we're just using a T-handle and a tap. And let me show you how I'm going about doing this. Let's go ahead and do another hole, and I'll kind of demonstrate how I'm doing this. I'm just using a little 3-in-1 oil on both the threads that I'm enlarging and my drill bit here. And I'm just gonna hold this as square as I possibly can. Because the bores that we're drilling out, they're already pretty square. So it'll guide you in there. Really found it not to be too big of an issue, just doing it like so. And I'm not pressing real hard, I'm just kind of letting the bit do the work. You can kind of feel when it bottoms out. Now I'm just going to turn this thing upside down. Take a little brake cleaner. We'll just clean out that hole. Wow, what you got in my eyes? And we'll just clean out that hole. So we got ourselves a nice smooth bore to tap into. Now we're going to take our 3-in-1 oil here. We'll just lube this thing up. Again, I'm just going to try and keep this nice and square, and we'll let the tap do the work. These things are already squared up, and we'll just let it bite in. You can already feel it starting to cut in. Back it up a little bit. The tap is really just going to guide itself in there properly. And we're just going to keep on doing this until it bottoms out. And it feels like we bottomed out. So let's go ahead and we'll just spin this thing in and out a little bit just to make sure it's nice and cut. Now let's take a little bit of brake cleaner. Just clean her out, and there we go. Now we have it enlarged for the 11mm stud, so that way we can put some really tight clamping force on this engine. Now I just have 8 more to do. Woo! It took me a hot minute to get this oil check valve out of the block. Get out of there! I think it took longer to do this than it did to open up the stud holes. All right, all of our machine work is finished. Let's go ahead and give this thing one final bath, and we'll start putting it back together. new little oil check valve. Toss that on in. We have our oil check valve tapped in. Now let's toss in that crankshaft. All right, we're just gonna use the stock bearings that came in it. Nice and clean. Still practically look new. So we'll toss them in. Got my saddles all nice and clean. And we're putting these bearings right back where they came from. Kept everything nice and organized and labeled. So let's move on with that. Crankshaft going in. Oh, before I do that, I did double check to make sure these holes are lined up and we're good. So it gets oil to the crankshaft. There we go. There's your new home. Start tossing our caps in. And we'll degrease this stuff to make sure our sealant holds up. All right, we got our channels all nice and filled up with sealer per what the manufacturer says. A little here on the faces, keep it from leaking out. Just a thin layer, a little bit of lube. Everything's degreased, and we'll toss it in. All right, and once we got everything torqued down, we'll clean this up right here, but for now, we'll just leave it there. Time for some fresh new bolts. These are torqued to yield, so gotta get a new set. All right, now that we got those unwrapped, let's toss a little bit of engine oil on the threads and underneath the head of the bolt. All right, let's snug them up and then we'll go through our torque sequences. All right, first setting is 37. Make sure she still spins okay. No, we need to do 45. Now we need to do 15. Pretty simple. That's where it gets tough. Got our crankshaft all buttoned up. She spins nice and free. One of the things I do need to do is I'm gonna take this off of the engine stand and put the rear main oil seal in. But before I do that, the new rods came in. I've hung 3 out of the 4. Got these pistons looking nice and clean. I've already kind of compared how these measure up to the stock length, width, and all that jazz. And if I take a stock pin, run it into a stock connecting rod, as well as the new aftermarket rod, these things are on point. I feel no difference whatsoever. So we're good on that front. Let's hang this last piston, making sure I've got my orientation the same for all of them. Just shove our pin in, toss the C-clip in. There we go. All of our pistons are nice and hung. I've got an assortment of bearings here. Some of them are new. This is one of the new bearings from, I got a couple different sets when I was trying to figure all this stuff out, and I still had these. These are King bearings. And out of all of these sets of bearings, we're only using 2 of the OEM bearings. And to me, that is just fine, and we're just gonna roll with it. We got ourselves a new gasket, and I'm just going to use a little bit of engine oil down inside where this lip is at, just to avoid any dry starts. Last thing I want to do is get back in there and replace this after it's in. And I'm just avoiding getting anything on the outer side of this lip here, or the seal. And we might toss a little in here too. Just a thin coat, and we'll toss this thing on in. And we'll use our old seal to All right, I got the oil pump and water pump housing all cleaned up, nothing too crazy. Just pulled the old seal, the old water pump, cleaned the surface, and now I'm just gonna knock a new seal in it. Looks like we got some RTV that comes with this. Why not? Let's put it on the outside of the seal, seal her up, and we got the main seal for the whole thing. We'll toss this thing on. Some power with this one and actually survive. Okay, I gapped all of the rings and they pretty much are ready to go back in this engine. Oddly enough, the second ring was, the gap on them from the factory was a lot larger than the top ring, so all I had to do was open up the top ring to 1,000th or 2,000ths larger than the bottom ring, and it's gonna be perfect for boost. We got our last piston going in, and then we're all finished with the bottom end for the most part. A little bit of assembly lube, toss some oil on our rings here, lube our skirts up, make sure our ring gaps are where we want them. Looks good to me. Lube her up with a little bit of oil. Compress our rings. It's nice and tight. We got our dot facing towards the nose of the crankshaft. There we go. And we'll seat her on down. Bada bing, bada boom. There we go. The short block is all together. You got ring gap, got our rods. Polished pistons look pretty good for some stalkers. Very cheap build. Everything's looking great. All our clearances. Now we just need to toss the oil pan on, put her head together, toss it on, throw her in the car. Dang, this thing's looking good. We got the bottom end all finished up. In the next video, we'll finish the head, get it back on the engine, and then we'll toss it in the car. Until next time, peace out.